I'm currently studying counselling at Bangor University and doing my dissertation thesis on cold water swimming and how it can potentially be a therapeutic benefit for menopausal individuals suffering with potential menopausal symptoms. I chose cold water swimming because it's something that's a massive part of my life. It's something that I used during COVID to help my own mood, and it also gave me a lot of achievement. Um, two of which actually we did find in the study. It did help the participants' mood and give them a sense of achievement and find a lot of joy. And yeah, did the same for me. I began 2.5 years ago, and I've not stopped since. It's something that lots of people do carry on doing once they've tried it. Yeah, it's quite addictive, and I'm hoping in my counselling career to eventually create an adventure therapy retreat centre type thing where I use traditional therapy alongside outdoor therapy and adventure therapy, one of which will hopefully be cold water swimming. So this is a subject very close to my heart and something I found really interesting. So I'm looking forward to sharing the findings with you. So first I'm going to introduce the study and tell you what it's about and why we chose cold water swimming and why we've linked it to the menopause. I'll bring up some current literature surrounding the topic, and also then explain how we did it, the results. We'll then get into the nitty-gritty of the discussion, which is the important part. A little discussion around how it also links to counselling too, and how professionals may use it within counselling, or suggest it as a social prescription, for example. And then we'll look at the conclusions and do questions at the end. Thank you. So, why is cold water swimming therapeutic? There's lots of physical effects and benefits within cold water swimming, one of which there is tons of research on. Obviously, athletes use cold water immersion a lot for their muscles, and then also for mindset. There's hydrotherapy out there, lots of different types of therapy that are beneficial. So hydrotherapy, there's blue space therapy, nature therapy, and adventure therapy, all of which include some form of blue space, so that's including waters, rivers, lakes, sea, nature, and its therapeutic benefits and how it can ground us and connect us to our environment and how beneficial that is on our mental health. Cold water swimming actually also increases our oxidative stress, and that is something that can also help us with our daily stresses in life and help us manage those stresses a lot better. And there are a few theories as to why that is, which we will go in further depth in the discussion. It's also been known to help our immune system, so we can be less likely to get common colds. Some participants reported, which is it's in the literature, but also our participants reported that they feel like they get less ill, they get less colds than they did before they started cold water swimming, especially when they're swimming regularly, which all our participants do and have been doing for a very long period of time, anything from 4 months to years, 3 years. It's also really good for regulating our core temperature and our thermoregulation, one of which I discussed that is potentially beneficial for the menopausal women, as that is a symptom not managing to sort out that core temperature and how it's affecting with the hot flushes, and how it can be devastating really, because it can come on at any time. They could be doing a presentation, and it's been known the cold water swimming has been known to actually relieve that a bit, especially while in the water, and even for some afterwards. And then again, that social connection. So a lot of the participants, nearly all of them actually, swim as a group. One, because of the risks of the cold water swim, which we'll get into, but two, because of the benefits and how that's such a nice therapeutic experience. Thank you. So as mentioned in the previous slide a little bit, the menopause is obviously something very serious and something that affects women and individuals on a daily basis. And some of those symptoms include loss of sleep, hot flushes, night sweats, low mood and anxiety, and even symptoms of depression in some of the participants and individuals. Headaches, joint pains, a lot of them reported memory issues, and obviously we all know that a lot of these things can be detrimental. For example, with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the sleep, for example, we know how important sleep is to just manage our mental health, and even to begin to want to improve our mental health, and having that in place is essential. And without that, it's no wonder we really do suffer without sleep. So yes, some really serious symptoms of which we need more research on how to help them, basically. And hopefully this dissertation can be one of those. There is obviously a lot of research on HRT, which is the hormonal medication that some menopausal individuals use. There's also non-hormonal treatments, but maybe this could be this could aid the hormonal treatments or be instead of the hormonal treatments for some, depending on what their preference is. The demographic is rising, so the amount of cold water swimming groups, particularly within this age range, so approximately a medium age of 54, 56, so menopausal women. The groups are growing and growing, and it's becoming more popular, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it and seen it on a regular basis because of how popular it's becoming. I also found that in the research that more females swim regularly, more than men actually, multiple times a week, so more frequently. There was also a 67% increase in the amount of female swimmers of a certain age this past year, which I thought was really interesting. And then swimming as a group again, so that was a massive part that seems to be something that there really in terms of how that's important and how that links to its therapeutic benefits. And then also the participants were able to discuss taboos such as the menopause, because we know that it's becoming a lot more discussed, but still isn't really out there. A lot of people don't know the symptoms, and a lot of people come to it and don't know what's going to happen. A lot of this generation hadn't spoken to their parents, their mother, for example, about what their experience of cold water swimming is. So it's something very unknown and hidden, and something that they suffer with, and like I said, affects their daily life. So the fact that they can have these meaningful conversations, both about menopause and loads of other subjects, with like-minded people, and feel confident about their body, for example, and their image in the water, it is amazing, I think. Also relieving the symptoms. So that was actually one of my themes in my discussion, and how it can be relieve symptoms. So actually all of them said their well-being, which is a massive part of a symptom of the menopause, for example. Lack of confidence, self-esteem, symptoms of anxiety, symptoms of depression, and low mood and feeling blue, as one of the participants put it, is a massive symptom and something that can potentially be relieved with the cold water swimming, and has been for these participants. They're going back, they're doing it again, and they're doing it for a reason, and many of them said it was linked to helping their symptoms of the menopause. Not quite the physical symptoms. Some of them said yes, definitely. Others were unsure, again, because of the lack of research, and one of them said categorically no, because she doesn't understand its links yet, and doesn't know whether it was linked to HRT, because some of them began HRT at the same time and swimming at the same time. But well-being wise, mentally, definitely all agreed, which I thought was amazing. But it is sad that there is such a lack of research on the topic, and why is that? Because of how it's so popular now. Hopefully this research can encourage future research, and if I ever go on to do a PhD or whatever, I can then get further into this and look at more potential future studies surrounding the topic, because I feel like there's a lot to go at here, and a lot of lacking within its links. And obviously we've got the environment, haven't we? So a lot of what was in the discussion is about the benefits of nature and how they felt really connected to the environment, especially when in the water, whether that be in the sea, whether that be in rivers or lakes. And again, there's tons of research on the benefits of nature, and nature therapy, adventure therapy is becoming increasingly more popular. So yeah, all very relevant. So I just want to quickly go over how we did it. So the method and methodology. It's a qualitative study, so obviously based on words and narrative reflections from the participant, and analysing those words and feelings and information. Yeah. We advertised it on Facebook, and we used one of our researchers to do that, just to not let things get confusing for the participants to then email our student emails. Obviously this is all based on student emails. We use semi-structured interviews via Teams, again a secure Teams email through the university. We then used a thematic analysis, and it was an opportunistic sample as well. So, me and my research team hypothesised that women who are experiencing the menopause, ranging from perimenopausal to postmenopausal, who regularly participate in cold water swimming, will report that cold water swimming alleviates symptoms and/or is beneficial for their mental health and overall well-being. Actually, 11 of the participants, which was all the participants, reported that cold water swimming is beneficial for their mental health and well-being, and 10 out of the 11 agreed that cold water swimming does alleviate or help their menopausal symptoms in one way or another. Yeah, but it is also important to consider that participants not all of the participants experience the full range of the symptoms that were discussed earlier in the presentation, but many of them have the symptoms and really struggle with them on a day-to-day basis. So let's go into the primary and secondary themes. The first one being the benefits of the social connection and swimming as a group, which I've kind of already touched on. Yeah, really common, and seems to be a really big part of the swimming. And it also, one of the participants quoted that it's really positive. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you're wearing, what shape you are, and what size you are. So it seemed to like really help their confidence as well and self-esteem. It seems to be a really positive environment for yeah, just being and experiencing in the moment. Obviously the benefits of nature too, so the therapeutic elements of that, a lot of them really touched on that, and being immersed in the water and how that feels. That then later I linked into the sensations in the body, which is a secondary theme, because obviously it's a very strong feeling when you're in this cold water, and that can very much make you mindful in the moment and present, because it has to. It's you're doing something that's putting a lot of feelings and sensations into your body, and you're very aware of what's going on in that moment. It's important to also discuss the risks involved with cold water swimming. So actually, for example, people with certain heart conditions, heart disease, it can be detrimental to them. So being aware of those things before trying it. But actually, it seems that the main demographic of swimmers are really careful when they're beginning swimming, in terms of knowing where they can swim, knowing the safety limits, mitigating that by either swimming in a group, taking a float, knowing their limitation, acclimatizing to the water. So for some for everyone really, it takes time to acclimatize to the water in terms of how long you're staying in for. That varies from participant to participant. Some participants are swimming completely, some are swimming with wetsuits, some are swimming without wetsuits. Yeah, so really being aware of these risks, which again was expected, because there is risks involved. However, all the participants and often cold water swimmers in general are very safe in doing so. So the next one was mindful moments that seem to come up while these participants are engaging in the cold water swimming. And I'll just give you a couple of quotes now from the participants themselves. So one of them said, it makes you feel like you can't think of anything else really apart from what is actually in that moment. Another one said, you feel so calm and it makes you feel really grounded. And then one stated that it's a really sort of like a mindful experience, because it grounds you into that moment and your awareness of everything at the time. Yeah, so Obviously, a lot of sensations in the body, as you can see on the secondary order themes. Cold water does feel very strong in our body, and it's no wonder that in the moment you're very much there. You're not thinking of anything else. And it's very meditative, mindful state, and these words were often used by the participants themselves. So another major theme was feelings of happiness, joy, euphoric, and feeling achieved thanks to the swimming. So I kind of mentioned that in the introduction for myself, but again, the participants really felt this, and this could be a scale from anything from joy to contentment to euphoric, post-swim euphoria even. That word was used quite a lot. And then just feeling achieved. You kind of feel like a bit of a superhero because you've gone in this water that maybe your body at the beginning doesn't quite want to do, but you've done it, and then afterwards the results and the achievement and the reward and reinforcement for that, down to loads of other elements, seems to be really beneficial and therapeutic and impressive. Yeah, you feel like you've achieved a lot. The next one is cold water swimming used to alleviate symptoms of menopause. So again, I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but if we just kind of look at what the participants were saying, a lot of them said it helped with their sleep, it helped regulate the temperature, as mentioned before. But again, I think we need a lot more research in linking the two, especially the physiological element. Because obviously that's not my area of expertise. That's not something we measured. But again, it's something to be really aware of, that physical reaction, which obviously impacts our mind in some way or another. And then also the natural feelings of nervousness and apprehension that came before going into water. So this wasn't predicted, but actually most of the participants said before entering the water, they were a bit reluctant. They didn't always want to get in the water, but the reward after that was more that outweighed that feeling, that initial couple of minutes or even seconds before going into the water. Because naturally, our bodies are going to tell us not to do that, but they push through and feel amazing afterwards thanks to it. So now, in terms of the other themes, a couple of people mentioned feeling reset. So often cold water swimmers will describe it as having a whole night's sleep, and some people are only in for anything from like 5 seconds to 15 minutes, 20 minutes even, some people. And you can feel like you've had a whole night's sleep, you can feel reset, you feel fresh, clear mind, like similar to after meditation. And then also sensations in the body while you're in the water and how that promotes being present. I was mentioned before, those mindful moments, better stress management. So obviously it links to stress release and hormones and all these coping mechanisms, because we're like, well, you've swam in this freezing cold water. What could be worse? But I can face anything now, kind of thing. And then the benefits of the exercise. So not all the participants use it for exercise. I'd say most of them don't, but some of them did mention the exercise benefits in even just getting moving. One of them mentioned that she ran to the lake and ran back. One of them really swam a long distance and continued swimming into summer. But again, obviously that's a different situation. That's not cold water, but yeah, so that exercise benefit too. So in conclusion, we did find that it helps the overall well-being of the participants, but again highlights the need for future research, particularly on the psychological and physiological benefits, and how we can potentially link this to counselling, whether it can become a social prescription on the NHS, whether we can suggest it just like we do with mindfulness, or use it as a task within CBT. There's so many things and elements we could bring into this area as the research already is with nature. Thank you for listening. There will be a handout sheet with all the referencing from this PowerPoint and more information as to where you can find how to participate yourself on cold water swimming and on the dissertation itself. So thank you for listening.